Hey everybody, welcome back to Founders 15. So this week we have Chrissybil with us, and as always, Chrissybil, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and your company and tell us what you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Chrissybil Boulin. I'm the founder of Vero Learning. We are a career guidance and job placement platform helping young adults figure out what they'd like to achieve next. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on your amazing podcast. I'm really excited to connect with your audience and to just share a little bit more about our story.
Great, because that is what we want to hear. For the listeners, Chrissybil and I worked together an accelerator program through Techstars, and we worked on your story a lot. And so I personally, with us being coaches and a lot of our audience, like understanding the need for like where do we go next and what decisions do we make. Tell us about, you said you help young people to make their decisions of where they want to go. So tell us how exactly you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my second time around as a founder. I started a pre-existing company in 2018 that just celebrated 6 years. It's called Jumpstart Tutoring. And with that company, our focus is more on tutoring and test prep. However, we made the Forbes Under 30 list in 2022 for our SAT program. And so we're very well known for helping kids increase their scores and saving money off of college admissions. But during the pandemic, something interesting happened. For the first time, we started to get high school kids that were reaching out to us directly instead of parents or school administrators, nudging kids and telling them they need to do SAT prep. And so it was a really weird phenomenon. But these kids, they had the same story. They were doing really well in school. Distance learning happened. They couldn't afford private tutoring. Their grades fell, and so now they don't qualify for scholarships that otherwise would have permitted them to go to college. And so many of these students were already in their senior year. They were frantic. And honestly, outside of SAT prep, we didn't really have a good solution for them. And so we did some customer discovery, and we found that 80% of high school seniors say that they're not ready to make college or career decisions. And so that was really shocking to myself and our team. And we realized that we needed to talk to hiring managers to figure out, are they open to hiring young adults that don't have degrees, as many of these kids don't have access to the career guidance they need to navigate the space. And so that's why we decided to start Vero Learning to really be a bridge between classroom learning and career placement opportunities for young adults.
And so just because we've got a global audience, we work around the world, and I'm based in London. So some of those references are very much about the US education system. What's the life of Vero in the future in terms of being able to help other, if other young people are watching thinking, I have those problems, I'm not in the US, what will their options be with you?
Well, the cool thing is, regardless of wherever you're located, you can go onto verolearning.com today and you can take a free version of our pre-employment screening, and it'll provide you with a mini SWOT report. What was really cool when we did customer discovery with VPs and hiring managers, we looked across industries, we looked at different company sizes, so everything from mom and pop for Forbes 30 under 30 all the way up to Fortune 100 company. And we found that they're looking for very similar skill sets when it comes to early career hires. They want durable skills, someone who's going to come in early, who's going to stay late, who's adaptable, and who's a self-starter. And so these are very universal. And we've created skill-based modules as well as assessment tests that can help you evaluate where you currently stand. So you understand what skills employers are looking for and how you can bridge that gap to become more employable. And so starting today, anyone can use the platform from anywhere to get a better understanding of where they stand and how they want to map out their careers. And in the future, as we continue to partner with Fortune 500 companies, we'd love to offer this offering to different students across the world who are looking for careers in fields that don't necessarily require a college degree. So I think there's a lot of potential for us to grow, but even today you can get on board and start to create your own pathway.
The stories that you told already since we've been on this podcast, it really kind of builds this idea that there's a real lack of option for these young people, not just in the US, globally. So I want to sort of talk about the elephant in the room of your competition. Would you tell us a little bit about sort of what are the options for young people, and how is it that you stand out or offer something other from what exists at the moment?
Absolutely. And so I think the biggest thing that's missing from career guidance in general is a focus on self-discovery. We forget and we neglect to remember that young adults have limited work experience, and many times they're not sure what they want to do next. And if you look at this from the perspective of a hiring manager, 41% of them are saying that early career roles are the hardest to fill, and that they lack the processes to accurately evaluate who's the best fit for entry-level roles. And so there's a disconnect here in terms of who's responsible and how we should prepare our youth. And unfortunately, they're the ones paying because they're falling in between the cracks. And so I think the biggest thing that really makes Vero Learning stand out is that we start by helping you understand yourself through our pre-employment screening. So you can think of this as a series of mini assessments that help users understand their natural competencies, their skill sets, and their interest. And so from there, it aggregates this really easy to understand SWOT. So here are your strengths, here are your weaknesses, here are your opportunities and threats. And you just click on these skills and you get more information about that skill and you're directed to a course that helps you. And so I think the next thing that really makes us stand out is how seamlessly we integrate the data analytics we collect about where you currently stand into an actionable item in terms of what to do next. And I think I mentioned to you before the call more recently, we just conducted our first corporate pilot with Office Depot, where we incorporated AI into our road mapping. And so we were able to determine with 85% accuracy the current roles of employees just based on the output of that pre-employment screening. So in future iterations, we're actually going to be able to recommend to students different career pathways that they're a good match for, what a perfect entry-level role might be in these different career pathways, and even do a career trajectory roadmap. So how to go from associate level to managerial all the way up to executive. And so we're really wanting to redefine and reshape how hiring and career guidance works. And when you look at our competitors, some people are doing the skill building aspect, some people are doing the pre-assessments, some people have the job forums online, but no one is really putting it all together in this seamless, integrative way. And so we're using data analytics to really provide value for students, for schools, as well as corporate hiring managers that are looking for early career talent and are really struggling right now to figure out how to evaluate, train, and recruit and retain ultimately early career talent.
So just for clarity, then I know the answer to this already, but if like you're able to help the employers, you're able to help the schools, you're able to help the individual students as well. So anyone who sort of needs help in this area at sort of any stage of that spectrum can come to Vero and sort of seek some help. Is that right?
Correct, absolutely. And I think that that is such a huge value add. So for our nonprofit partners, many of them are funders and they provide funding to different nonprofits, but they're not really sure how many students they serve. And if they don't know how many students they serve, then how can they truly track outcomes? And so our platform provides value for them. And then you think about like a superintendent who needs to track outcomes for students after they've graduated, especially as more and more kids are either dropping out of college after the first year are choosing not to attend at all. But it's really hard for them to collect that data after a student leaves. And so we're tracking internships, apprenticeships, improvement in skills, and also job placement. And are they still there after a year? Were they the right fit? And so if you think about all these different stakeholders, you can see that the data analytics we're providing, though the goal is, to sell it directly into corporations as our long-term vision, but really schools and nonprofits and ultimately students are the really big beneficiaries of our services.
But when I was at school, we had to do something in careers, which was fill out a 50-question questionnaire, and it told us
Mhm,
which jobs we would be right for. And
mhm.
my number one job, I was told, was a cloakroom assistant, like
Mm.
like a coat check, like a bar or
Oh,
something. That was the
oh,
number one job that I was like
wow.
advised to do because it wasn't based on anything intelligent whatsoever. And I know that that system is still used in some schools in the UK now.
Wow.
Like I only found this out a couple of months ago because um, we like get so many people come to us for career coaching, and career coaching is to help you figure it out. It's not to kind of send you in that direction. And so that's why I'm so passionate about getting you here on the podcast because you're providing that thing that actually gives people, like you say, that direction or that kind of, hey, you could go to this role and then this role. And I think that's hugely exciting. Okay, so you said you set up another startup already. You told us about Jumpstart tutors, and you come now to Vero. So throughout both of those processes, can you take us through some of the stumbling blocks that you have come across? Anything, any of the setbacks, and how you've overcome them?
It's hard to be an entrepreneur. It's hard, it's lonely. There isn't a very clear-cut roadmap necessarily. And in the beginning, you have to kind of know a good amount about everything that's core and central to your business, whether that be your marketing, your customers, sales, keeping your operations going, understanding your finances until you get enough traction and capital that you can start to get people on your team. So it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. There are constant ups and downs. I think the learning curves are endless, which I'm a nerd, so I love that. I love that. I can use so many different facets of my personality and of my intellect and of my interest. For me, it was just the best way to blend all the things I cared about and all the skill sets I really wanted to hone. But it's quite challenging because you don't wake up knowing what you're going to make. And so you have to really understand the problem that you're solving for your customers. You have to understand your differentiation. You have to build an incredible team. You need to be very self-aware and understand where your strengths and weaknesses are so that you can start to grow and also bring on people who can really strengthen the overall vision that you're working towards. So it's a lot of work, but there's nothing more incredible than having an idea and just seeing it come to life. And in my sense, being a social impact founder, seeing the lives that it touches, it's just a tremendous blessing. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be an entrepreneur.
Are there, as a social impact entrepreneur, are there things that you have encountered, sort of barriers that you've had to overcome, maybe things that you weren't expecting? Is there any barriers that you've experienced?
I really believe in the Ubuntu concept, right? Like that's what's good is good for everyone. And when I went to Cambridge, I got really inspired by social entrepreneurs who were making millions and they were helping millions of people and they were just solving core issues in society. And I just thought to myself, like, wow, like those are my heroes. And so I don't think it's as hard as it seems that to be. I think you just have to find where there's a real problem. And we're looking at the fact that hiring managers are experiencing that 90% of early career employees are churning, or 30% of early career employees are churning within 90 days. That is
Wow.
insane. It's costing them corporations over $1 trillion a year. I mean, that is a real problem. And so I think sometimes people think it's super fluffy, but we're targeting a $300 billion market that's growing. We have 4 million job vacancies for early career roles. 40% of high school students, at least in the US, are saying that they're not going to college. And that trend, I see it happening globally as well. And so, we're solving a real problem where we can make real, revenue, but it just so happens that it really helps people. And so I love that. I don't think it's too hard if you put in the effort to kind of find where you're going to make money and how you can also have impact.
Completely agree. So we've got just over a minute and a half left, and I want to give you the opportunity to talk about what's happening next with Vero. Just before that, can you give any advice to startups starting out, even pre-seed, maybe even just people who've got that idea and they want to get started? You've done this twice now. What piece of advice would you give to them?
I think accelerators are great. I think it's really important to have a 360 perspective of where you stand as a founder. So really being able to assess where you're at, being great at telling your story. And so that's where you're awesome, Mike, is helping people really understand how they can connect with others, because you need to bring people along and make them excited to join your team. And customer discovery interviews before you do any code or you raise any money, really understand the problem because it's often very different than what you think it is. And so that would be my advice for anyone getting off the ground.
So I completely agree with that final one particularly. We've just seen so many issues with companies who don't do that stuff up front. Okay, final 30 seconds. Tell us if we want to get in touch with you or find out more about Vero, any exciting developments that are going on with Vero at the moment. Let us know now.
Yeah, we're raising $1 million pre-seed. We've already have about 350,000 committed. So anyone who's interested, definitely reach out, info@verolearning.com. Or if you want to take our pre-employment screening, go to verolearning.com. So I'd love to reach out to anyone in the space that is connected to career guidance.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that new tone that's come on there. Brilliant. Very much for that 15 minutes and for all the advice. Thank you very much, Chrissybil.